Well, I guess
What are we starting on?
I guess what we should start with is at least taking a sip of this tequila right here.
Yeah, since we can't get everybody else involved. Yeah. And this definitely goes down with a different burn fresh from the bottle.
Oh, here we go. Cheers.
Cheers, old man.
That's not bad at all.
It's not bad at all. I'm going to pop this thing open and let it breathe a little, which is probably a bad idea, but I
fuck
don't
it.
know. We're going to find out.
All right, everybody. Well, welcome to. This is another basement podcast, but this is a very personal one to me. I'm sitting here with my pops, Ellis Tompkins, Papa Basement himself.
Hello, hello.
And we're doing this today because this is taking something that started 5 years ago now full circle. So back in 2015, me, Moses Mosima, Riley of HBC, I Hate You Sheed, Lord Trippy, and a bunch of other basement artists dropped out of school, came back from California, and went 100% with doing this music thing. And during those first couple months especially, you know, some of the shakiest times of my life as far as just, you know, being sure I made the right decision. This is something I always wanted to do, but you know what I mean? First time stepping out and doing it all on my own too, with me and my own team and doing it ourselves. So in those first couple months, I went down to my pop's place in DC, and we had a like 5-hour conversation just about doing this.
Yeah.
And that sparked the album that I've been working on since 2015. That's going to be coming out this year. It's called F.A.T.E. The full title is The Fish That Ate the Elephant, but we abbreviated it to F.A.T.E. And the conversation we had largely structured around this idea of eating the elephant, which I had never heard of until you had brought it up to me that day. So now we're at a point where the album is ready to go. We're ready to release it. I took that 5-hour conversation and spent from about 2015 to mid 2017 chopping it up and sprinkling it throughout the project. And now my pops has gotten to hear the entire thing with his voice throughout the entire project. And really that's what we're going to talk about today. That and entrepreneurialism. The fact that this started out with an idea and with a conversation, and as we go into the second leg of the life of this, because I don't want to necessarily say it's ending with a conversation, because we're about to go
I hope not.
a lot farther from here. But we're taking this full circle with another conversation. So I'm going to stop running my mouth for a second.
Run your mouth. Gives me a lead in, so I know what the heck we're doing. And two, if those conversations we had were always at night, after everyone else had gone down to bed, and I was not 3 sheets, but I was a good 1.5 to 2 sheets of the wind, and then you were wherever you were in the wind, and it was fun. It was just me talking. For me, it was just always just me talking with my kid. And one of the things I always appreciate about you is it's really cool when you like your kid. You love them because you're obligated and all that. That's easy to do, really. Family makes that happen. A whole bunch of stuff makes that happen. But when you actually like your kid, that's really nice. So all those times, I mean, you and I had a lot of conversations late. You listened to me. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. But you'll sit there and listen to me go on, kind of like you are now. And it's always appreciated that. But the other part is, it had nothing to do with talking to my kid. I wasn't talking to my kid. I wasn't talking to a young man. I was talking to this guy I like. And that's what all of our conversations were whenever they happen, that's what was going on. Because we've covered everything. Family, friends, stuff that's going on, girlfriends, old family situations. Everything. Sex. None of us are shy about that one. I mean, holy, we could scare people on this nose.
No, this is definitely we definitely have a very special and different relationship than I know for a lot of the people I grew up with their dads. Of even just being able to talk like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I know most people don't really do that.
There's that one, and then with my friends, they're when I watch them with theirs, and they're wonderful. I don't. All of my friends make terrific dads, and it's always cool. One of the things I like that we all have, and that's Nick included, is that at some point we're all talking and listening to each other, and and so one of the things I also appreciate is that, like I said, is that you'll stop and listen, and that when we talk, and I always believe that once you guys get to be old enough to be drafted, we're about all the same page. So that's why when your friends call me Mister, I'm gonna wind up cutting them off. It's like you can just call me Ellis now. You can be drafted, come back missing a limb, so you can call me by my first name. It's all right. But like I said, it always comes back to, and I apologize for being repetitive, but it's not the senility kicking in. It's liking people that you're around, and when you like them, and they're smart and they're interesting, and what they're doing is interesting, it makes conversation easy. It's the boring, kind of dim people. It's tougher having a conversation with them.
So what did you think? Because you know I've been doing this for well forever. Um, what did you think when I first told you that I was officially out of school and we were all getting together in the pretty much basement apartment of my friend's building and doing this?
You want the honest answer? You want me to give
yeah.
you like you want
No,
the honest
we
one?
want the honest answer.
Okay, real quick background. I'll never forget one. I never wanted to have kids. Okay, so that was out of what? Oh, never, never wanted to have kids. One of the things that drew me to your mom. We both agreed never wanted to have kids.
Damn.
Yeah, and then it was me that went to your mom and went, I kind of changed my mind if you're
Shit.
okay with that. So, and then one of the things I always believed was also, man, if I have a kid, never want them to be an artist, not a musician, none of that stuff. All because that's just hell, right? So, with that as a backdrop, here's how far I've come.
Damn.
Is not waiting to have kids to I want to have a kid. Then never waiting to have when it's going to be a musician. If they ever wanted to be in music and art or paint or any of that stuff, I was going to drag them out, beat them senseless, and turn them into an accountant. Right? That was going to be that's my grand brilliant plan, always involving physical pain. So then, so we fast forward through watching you evolve, watching you grow, watching you become a person, your own person, and I missed out on some of that. So it was every other weekend, sure, and those were always important to me. But the summers, every other weekend, every other major holiday, right? That's where you and I spent our time, and I didn't miss one, by the way. So, anyways, and so watching you evolve like that. One of the things I came to appreciate when you were in junior high school was when you performed at that talent show.
Oh shit.
And I've never forgotten about that ever because I was blown away. I really was impressed. So that was the beginning of me looking at the whole concept of now you got to beat an engineer into these people. You got to beat accounting into these people. You cannot let them become artists. Yeah, that's when that began to fold. Was I began to look at you and go, God, that kid's really pretty good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was impressive. And it was really cool watching you switch gears. There was a kid I always knew. You had walked up there in a sport coat and a tie, and then took it off and performed. And when you performed, you were totally different. And I never knew that was there. So when I saw all that, and for me, it was a shock. And again, I'm all set to kind of go, oh, that's really nice. That's very sweet what you're doing. Yeah, talk about accounting, right? But no, I was kind of all in at that point, and everything you've done since then has just reinforced it. It has not watered it down, and it made me realize I got to switch gears. I got to think about this whole thing differently. And you have a cousin by marriage named Chris, he was a magician, married to my first cousin Cheryl. And Chris has always tried to get me to think about careers and stuff differently. I never listen because you know how I am. I'm pretty narrow-minded. Think about um, things in a very structured way, and bad at listening when it kind of falls outside of that because I think I know more. Well, watching you grow and watching you kind of, I reflected on all those conversations I had with Chris that I ignored, didn't listen to. Man, I replayed all those years worth of conversations, and they all echoed differently, each and every one. And I finally understood what he was saying, and or at least got a better idea, heard it differently in my own head. Never called him. He doesn't know.
Shit.
He has no idea. So there you go. So now here you are. You made this leap, and as far as I was concerned, you're a grown man. I'm back to my draft analogy, so that'll probably keep coming up. You could be drafted. So who am I? Who is anybody to tell you what you're going to do and what you should do? You could have enlisted if you wanted to, which would have made me scream. But then again, it's your life. So why am I going to get upset over choosing something down the art path? But then I was already pretty good with it because the family's full of entrepreneurs, and what I saw was an entrepreneur. I didn't see an artist. And because of how you operated at that in 8th grade or junior high school, whichever grade that was, you walked around passing out money, paying everybody, or you collected money, and there's people that you paid who had done work. But never forgot that. Watched you do it. Watched from across that gymnasium. And it was, we were about to go, and you went, hold on, I got to take care of something. You had collected money, and you were passing it to people who had done artwork, who had done this, this, and that.
Shit, I forgot about that.
Oh, I watched. So for me, when you made your decision, what I had to like, and it was not a hard leap. It was simply more affirmation that, nah, all you guys are just, you're entrepreneurs. You're not, this isn't anything but that. And so through watching you, I look at all artists differently, all entertainers differently. You know how much I love sports, so all athletes are entertainers, at least in my opinion. So they're all entrepreneurs, and I'm always impressed with that because y'all got to work. Your money comes from your labor and your fingers, and what you produce comes from your brain, your fingers, your heart, all that. That's pretty cool. That's rarefied air. There you go. That is rarefied air.
I think one thing that's super interesting to me is that,
So this was all really cool to me.
I mean, I also got a lot of, a bit of the comfortability with doing it all. Really watching you growing up, because you were one of the only people I knew that was making money themselves, even just with like the gun cleaning business, how resourceful you were no matter what happened, of always making sure you were gonna find some work. You could always do IT stuff. Always had the gun business going. So just even having the
I didn't know that you realized that, to be honest with you.
yeah,
I did not know that.
you didn't know I knew about that?
I really didn't.
Oh yeah. No, I knew that since at least since you had where did you have the house built? Was that La Plata?
La Plata.
Yeah, since the La Plata house.
Man.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
actually
because I was working for Beretta then.
that okay. See that I didn't know. I didn't
Worked for
know you were-
Beretta, and
holy shit.
yeah, I worked on the team that did their very first website. I was on the team that helped build it.
Fuck.
And I also worked their customer support line. And in doing that, one of the things I did was I got my armorer's license from Beretta. So the Beretta factory down in Accokeek, Maryland. Excuse me, and that's how I got all the information how to repair and all that. So, but growing up hunting and all that, I was really big in maintenance. So, but yeah, that's how I got all certified was through the Beretta factory,
Shit.
and worked on their very first website. Like I said, their customer support line, and then took that. I said I mailed my resume and everything out to like every little local police department all over Maryland to grab business.
Damn.
And so I would just take cops' guns and freshen them up and get them ready for their certifications.
Wow. Okay, so I didn't know that much detail. I didn't know you was going all the way through actually Beretta.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Worked for them directly about, I guess, about 3 years or so. Yeah, about 2 or 3, a good 2-3 years.
Oh, and shit, and even before that, on the same kick, you racing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
You were fucking out here.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So, can you tell them a little bit about that? Because I know only so much growing up.
So this is before you were born. Actually, you're significant in my racing history because so I got my amateur license. The guy I used to work with, and it was a good buddy of mine, Bill, and so he and I bought a race car, rebuilt it, got it ready for racing. Took a year racing, road racing. So we were up and down the East Coast, as far north as, not Lime Rock, but up in New York, and I'll think of the name of it in a minute. But anyway, up in New York down to Charlotte, and we kind of bounced between the tracks there. But Summit Point in West Virginia was our home track.
Okay.
So there we were, built the car, got licensed in the first season, and ran around towing that race car with a pickup truck. And I'm sure you may remember the pickup truck because you spent a lot of time.
No, I
in that
definitely remember the pickup truck.
Yeah. And that was my tow vehicle. So I would tow it up and down to the racetracks and run. And Bill, I would play Bill's pit crew when he raced, and then we would swap races all season long. So I would race and he would race, and we would be each other's pit crew. And then I had the tow vehicle, and off we went. And Bill was as good with cars as I was, so that was an even Steven deal there. And so there we were racing. We get up to 1994, and 94 was a really big year. There was one of my favorite drivers of all time was Ayrton Senna. Ayrton Senna was a Formula One driver. He was killed in 1994, killed himself during a race. That same weekend, his best friend, also a Formula One, one of his closest friends, and also a Formula One driver, his last name was Ratzenberger. Rotten name, but decent driver. He was killed that same weekend, same race, Imola in Italy. So I'm watching. So that same weekend, Ratzenberger is killed first, and then the race day, Ayrton Senna dies within the first 5 laps of the race. Car bottoms out, goes full force in the end of turn 1 or end of the front straight. So high speed wreck, kills himself. So that happens. Now it's Bill and I are up in New York at that track that I can't remember right now. I'm hoping the name comes in. And we were there watching, so we were not racing. So we go up there to watch an event. And there's another driver, Wayne Taylor. And Wayne Taylor was a prototype driver, and that's who was running that weekend. So we're there for that race. Wayne Taylor plows into a tire wall, and it didn't look like that bad of a wreck on a high speed, at the end of a high speed straight, and breaks himself up from the waist down, hips all the way down, just wrecks the car and goes full on into the tire wall. So there I am. Do you remember this half-breed dog that we had that was named Rosie?
Yes.
Yes. Dumbest dog ever created. I really think it was mentally handicapped. And Rosie, and I would take Rosie with me to races everywhere. I would take Rosie with me. So there I am with Rosie. This happens. There was the same weekend as the Formula One race, or the following weekend. I forgot which. About 4 or 5 weeks before, 1 or 2 guys had gotten hurt bad at Summit Point, my home racetrack. And your mom. So all this happens, and your mom is pregnant with you. And I remember sitting at the track after Wayne Taylor had his big wreck. And to this day, they changed the track because of him. So I gotta get the name of the track. They changed the track to slow cars down on that particular straight.
Shit.
And that's why it looks that way to this day. The NASCAR guys race there. It's got this funky kink in it on this back straight. That's because of Wayne Taylor's wreck. And I was there that weekend, all this stuff. So it all culminates back over to you. In that I was there, sitting out there with, we're knocking back bourbons. There's Bill, the dog's running around. People are, I had the dog trained. I had a Beagle Basset mix that would fetch. Like big floppy ears. You could throw things out, she'd bring it back all happy. It would fetch. Well-trained dog, great day. And I'm going through all this stuff and going, I can't keep racing. It's like really selfish. When you have a kid on the way, being out here and doing this, I love it, but nah, no. So that was my last season. And it was because of you. It was because of you. You just don't ever know it. You didn't know it. Didn't ask for anything.
Damn.
But you're why I stopped racing. Not you personally, but the kids. A kid. My first kid.
So slight diversion, but I didn't want to cut you off earlier. Speaking of the tow truck, one thing that has never left my brain, do you remember the day that the radio got stolen out of that joint?
Yes.
Oh my God. I will never forget waking up that morning and we were hopping in the car. I had no idea where we were driving to. And it was quiet. And we had just had the conversation that, yeah, someone broke this motherfucker and took this joint out. And I'm sitting there going, it's kind of quiet in this shit. Dad, can you turn on the radio? I just remember you looking at me like nigga.
Yeah, you dumb. Like, I know you're smarter than that because even if you don't get your genes, you got half the smart genes from your mom. You're pretty bright. You're fairly bright.
Damn.
Ears are big enough. You're like a snap over here. You look to the left. A snap to the right. You look to the right. You're good. You heard me.
But damn, so yeah, no, even just seeing everything that you were doing, and just like I said, even the first shit for me was the stories of you racing, and then it was the gun work, being in IT, always being able to find a way to get a job and make money. Like that was a backbone for me to even have the confidence of, okay, I'm gonna do what I want to do.
And it's cool because I'm glad to hear you say that. And then there is your grandfather on my side. He's an entrepreneur, and then all of his brothers. Right, he's one of 12 kids. The 12 kids, there's only like 3 females. All the rest are boys, and all of them entrepreneurs, either working with their hands in masonry, carpentry, plumbing, that sort of thing, dentistry. Gosh, I bet you Uncle Ben's the last one left, and he's a dentist. Private practice, always has had a private practice. Right, he's never worked for a hospital or something like that. So the family's always been that way. Their dad owned a farm. So that's what I've always been around. All the girls, my aunts, except for all of them, there's like 3 or 4. So out of 3 or 4, one of them married somebody who has a traditional job. Everybody else married people who were farmers, mechanics, things like that, who were also entrepreneurs. So again, it was when I finally looked at being an artist differently, then what I saw was what I was familiar with. There's no difference at all. It really is no difference.
And Granddad was a brick mason, right? He was building his own houses and shit?
Yeah, Dad built every house. So Dad built the 2 houses we lived in. Both of them out of his pocket. He never got a loan.
Damn.
First one was because he couldn't get a loan because he's black, and they wouldn't give loans out. It was in the 1950s to black people. So he literally could not get a loan. So he had to save money to buy the land, then to do each and every piece of the work. And then the other house, he simply saw that he already owned the land, so that expense was gone. So he just took his time, and it took about 3 years to build it, and then built the thing. But all out of pocket. He never got a loan on that second
Holy
house.
shit.
The one that you're familiar with
Yeah.
grandma, he never got a loan for that.
The first one is the one that Emmanuel was saying,
Exactly.
right? Holy
That
shit.
was completely out of pocket. Grandma and granddad lived in Washington, D.C., and dad would work on the house on the weekends and stuff, and then built the place up. Then moved them in before the place was even 100% finished.
Damn.
So when I was growing up, I remember having to, like, the fireplace was critical. Like, you always have fireplaces going, but the fireplace was critical because sometimes, like, the heat wasn't there because that part wasn't 100% complete. And so nailed that back, but it was just a matter of because of how he had to do it.
Damn.
So when you look at yourself, and what I watch you guys go through, what I watch you personally go through, when I listen to some of your music, some of it I kind of get, you know me, I listen to the stuff and I kind of go, I have my reaction to it. But I have to admit that a lot of times I'm always concerned. They'll worry. It's like this. So this last one, the album here, Fate, kind of goes. I get worried, and my worry is that in your music, and in your Instagram, and when you're talking to people in public, there's times I hear what you're going through, and when I catch those snippets, I get worried, and I just want to reach out and just like do shit. And then I stop, and those are some times where I'll just make sure it's like, come on down whatever you want. If you're gonna come on down for the weekend, come on down. It's okay. Come on. Hey, when's the last time you've been down? It's because what I don't want to do is to insert myself, and I don't want you to know that I'm worried. Forget the becauses, but I don't want you to know that I'm worried. But I do want you to know that you're not by yourself, and that if I just let you know that, hey, anytime, come on down, have a break. I'll cook all weekend. It's okay. Then at least you know you can have a break and relax for a little while at least and blow off a little steam. Even if that just means sleeping all day. Didn't sleep all day. It's okay. But I worry. I worry.
What's the stuff that gets you worried?
You will talk about struggles. And so whenever I hear people, my kids, forget about everybody else, whenever my kids struggling, oh, I can't believe I got that volume up. Whenever I hear about my kids struggling, well, you're a parent, so you always want to fix that. And what's worse is I'm a male parent. Well, that's all we do is want to fix it.
Yeah.
We don't want to listen. We want to fix. So there I am, want to fix it. And that turns into anxiousness and worry. So you talk about drugs, you talk about depression, you talk about, and then what I hear is a marriage of the two. So that's what I always hear. No matter how you frame it, that's what I translate it to all the time. Is that I hear self-medication, and so that bothers me because I do that too. And so do a whole bunch of people on my side of the family, self-medicate.
Just to say, right now we are both drinking Modelo and drinking tequila.
But it's very good tequila, and
Very
it is
good.
Mango Modelo. So
It makes a bit
out
of
of
a
the stuff to
difference.
self-medicate on, I mean, it's really kind of
It's
nice
not a bad
self-medication. Right. So to be fair, it's good medication. So there you go. So because of what I hear you talk about, yeah, I get worried because I would never want grandma, granddad, my mom and dad. Would never want them to know how much self-medication I did coming up. Only I was drinking all the time, and so when I hear you are selecting a different set of chemicals to accomplish the same thing, and I'm not familiar with them. So there goes more level of concern, and I've sort of had to throttle myself back and go, he's doing the same thing that a lot of his uncles and aunts that he doesn't know or has only met once or twice or doesn't remember meeting do the same shit. And as they should. Do the
Hell
same
yeah.
shit. And then there's the ones you do know. You know
Yeah.
some of your aunts and uncles, and they do the
Yeah.
same stuff. If you were down this weekend, there'll be some self medication going on. We call it, hey, we're just hanging out and drinking, but we're also self medicating. We don't hear voices in our heads or anything, and we're not depressed, but there is the anxiousness, there is just wanting not to think about all the responsibilities for a little while. And that
Facts.
relaxation and decompression and using chemicals to do it, I can think of like nicer ways of making it sound. It's self medication.
No, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
As the saying goes now, from where me and a lot of the basement are from. So I went to school up in I finished high school over at Springfield Township, and we have adopted a saying from being from around there. Now I'm originally from Mount Airy through and through, but cut a lot of teeth over there, and the two options, as the kids say, are you're either weird or you're doing heroin. So
So is that the okay? So is that the one of the songs on Fate?
yes, yes.
Okay, that is a powerful. That is a powerful song. And do
Thank
you
you.
know I only got the song on the drive up today?
Really, what you mean?
Okay, so I'm listening to this song. So I got so you know me, I burned it to CD, and so I burned the thing to CD. So I didn't even listen to it really. I would like play bits and pieces of it on the download, but you know me, I want to hear it on speakers. So I finally get it all burned on the CD. Once I figure out the freaking format and all that shit. So I get it all squared away. There I go, play it. And so my first run through the album is just what do I like? So remember those texts I said? Oh, this one, oh, that one. Oh. It was all about what I heard in terms of a very superficial here.
Mm.
Well, it takes me, I don't know, I'll bet you like 7, 10 times running through a song before I get past how it sounds and does it make my toe tap or something like that
Mm.
to, okay, now we get to the words. It wasn't until the drive up today where I went, holy shit, oh, in my veins and in this and that. I'm finally, and if I'm not right in how you intended what you were trying to communicate, I know how I've decided to interpret it. And so for me, it was, oh my gosh, I'm hearing this differently for the very first time. And so there you go. So that song is a whole different thing. So hearing you, so yeah, that Fate thing is like, it's cool.
So that whole song comes from one. I mean, we all know we have a huge, quote unquote, opioid crisis over here, but
Do you call it a crisis?
yeah, it's the same thing as crack. It's just with white people. So
I was
it's
going to
like,
ask you because
whatever.
crisis means it's white people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
just
yeah.
check it.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, no,
So
no.
it's the same thing in Philly. We get that too in Washington, but it's same in Philly.
What's crazy is I never thought in 100 years I would see subway signs for smelling salts to wake niggas up from an OD. Never in my life.
Okay, just FYI, I do not believe you. Okay, you're lying to me
No,
right now. Why are you
they
lying
are
to me?
there.
Okay, I don't know why you lying to
100%
me.
the truth. So to give you the full story on that, there's a long, and I mean, there is a history with heroin over there, and especially like we have people whose family is associated with introducing some of that shit. Just cats that were fucked up and their home lives were fucked up, and they were some of the first people touching it, and they just ended up being the nucleus of kind of having some of this shit pop off. But all what it really comes from is when I came back, I had so that very first verse is about me coming back to the city and running into an old friend. Now this is timeline wise, like maybe 3 or 4 months before I actually drop out and move back. So this is like during like a Christmas break or something like that. And homeboy picks me up. We're catching up, smoking this, that, and the third. And we get back to his crib, and it's just kind of off. There's a lot of cats there. Some of them still got to be in the high school. A couple of them are my age and a little bit older, but everybody's from the same area. And we're all smoking and passing around L's, but if you paid attention, there's a couple of motherfuckers that are just too high. Like, it doesn't really make sense. So, fast forward a year later, this same cat comes into my job. And this time he walks in, this nigga is gone. And I mean,
How old is he, just real quick?
same age as me.
Gotcha.
Eyes is this low, looking up here the whole time, and the way you walking is like fucking slow dancing between the aisles, taking this sweet ass time. And he had just had a kid. And so that line on that second verse of me asking his kid's name, and he says, which name, nigga, is verbatim exactly what he said. It took him a minute. We were standing there for like 10 minutes, and he's trying to figure out what the fuck I'm talking about. He forgetting he had a whole kid and everything. So what I had found out later on was that house was held down by this one chick who I had met like one time before, but then when I was working at the market, she was around there a lot more. And her parents had just died that year. So she was just holding it down, and this cats were just coming in and chilling, staying there, sleeping there.
Right, right.
And I found out that a homeboy who had walked into the store and forgot his kid's name had actually been some of the first kids our age to start fucking with dog food around there. And I mean, they were sniffing it in high school on the low. And not a lot of people knew unless you were staying around Orland.
Okay, so confession. What the hell's dog food?
Heroin.
Thank you.
So
You gotta remember, you're talking to the dim over here. Okay,
my
that's
fault.
okay.
I just
Small
love calling
words.
it dog food, to be honest with you. It's a great name for it.
I was debating about whether or not to express my ignorance, or to kind of go with the flow and go, yeah, okay. Now I figured, go with it. Okay.
So how the story ends is I found out, I just kept finding more and more people that were really stuck on the shit. So I even ran into a dude who I used to work with at Roberto's, where I used to wait tables and bus and shit.
Holy shit, I remember.
So this is like 3 years after the fact, right? I see Bull on the train, and this nigga, oh my god, woo woo woo. This is the cat that washed dishes the whole time, and he looked like a cat that would be like kind of fucking with it, but he was
Right.
never super fucked up, like ever.
Until the train.
He's there, and he's like, dude, like, how you been? And he goes, dude, yeah, I just kind of came back. I'm like, what do you mean?
Came back?
Came back. And he goes, dude, they found me in Kensington, like done, like out, like dead. They hit
I was
me.
gonna say, like, so this is like one of those get the charge up the paddles
Nah,
kind of thing.
he got 3 Pulp Fiction needles
He got Pulp Fiction
to the chest 3 times to wake his ass up and get him moving. He said, dude, I just took 3 needles to the fucking chest for this shit. He's like, I'm never doing it again.
in a stabbing motion. Did the stabbing just?
I gotta play a clip of this shit when we put this up. But yes, exactly that. Exactly that. So I just keep running into more and more people. And one of the people ends up being this cat that I work with at the market. And he is like fairly open about it. The boss is pretty ignorant, so he doesn't know. But we all know. I'm smoking with dude like every day. He smoked me up. Cool, whatever. But he's talking about, yeah, man, I just gotta kind of get my, get out the gate shit kind of going, woo, woo, woo. And I didn't really know what all that shit meant, and I was just like slowly kind of catching on. So I know he's fucked up off the shit, and what ended up happening was I end up getting fired, or this is right before I end up getting fired. He's like on his way out, and I'm walking into work one day, and he is like unrecognizable. I almost walked past dude. And he's sitting by the train station looking as sick as a mug.
So an unrecognizable means like complexion, eyes. What
Like,
does that mean?
just sunken in. He was already a skinny cat,
man.
but like even skinnier and just really discolored.
So weight loss,
hoodie
skin
up,
loss.
and just kind of sunken into himself, sitting by the train. And he stopped me, and I was like, "Oh, holy shit, dude, you okay?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'll be good just as soon as, I get out the gate, I get my morning fix." And legit, like, as soon as he says it, because he's asking me if I got anything, and I'm like, dude, I got Adderall, so in other words, not what you want. He's like, yeah, okay, yeah, fuck it. And I'm walking away, and a black SUV pulls up, he gets his shit, and everybody's moving on with their day. So how a big shit of it ended was, this cat was like he was like the star nigga of the fucking market for a minute, right? Like he was running the shit. Got this fucked up. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Before he leaves, he ended up getting somebody hired, and this cat ends up taking my job. I get fired, and this cat takes my job. Fun fact: this cat is on the exact same shit this nigga was on.
Right.
So he's shooting up. Even worse.
But wait, but he manages it better.
He manages it better, but I think it's because of the crack. He's a very big crackhead.
However you manage it, you manage it, okay?
Hey, he balanced it out.
There you go.
So this is the roundabout of what ends up happening. I lose my job. I'm over here. I think I'm at Fresh Grocer while all this is happening. And still, like, I'm going up there fighting to get my fucking job back. 'Cause I hated fucking Fresh Grocer. Oh, my God. So I'm still fighting to get this shit back. And they end up robbing the store one night.
Wait, the same guys?
Yep. So the dude is still, Crackhead Bull is there. No one's been kicked. He's fine. He's making it.
Right.
He brings old boy back in, and they're like, bet, we're running this shit. Because everybody knows where everything is kept. It's easy. So they go in, run it, and I get my job back because they get caught.
Out of people.
So big original Dopehead man just disappears. Like no one has any idea where this man went, hide or hair.
Right.
So he disappears and comes in one day while Riley's working, and dude is destroyed, like gone. And he comes in, he's like, Riley, do you know what happened? Like, I don't understand why. I heard Yogi's really upset. I did something, but I don't know what I did, and nobody will tell me what happened.
Yeah, so like this thing doesn't record facial expressions, so I'm looking at you in shock and horror. He doesn't remember?
He does not know what the fuck happened. And so Riley's just sitting there going, dude, you gotta go. He's like, dude, you just gotta go. He's like, I'm telling you, get out. So he just dips. And the last thing that we know is about what happened to Crackhead Bull. So you remember the Trolley Car Diner?
Yeah, absolutely, I do.
So Trolley Car Diner is a spot off of Germantown Ave.
There you go, baby.
Like right before you're hitting Chestnut Hill. It's like right on that border. Family diner spot. I grew up going there like all the time.
Bookstore wasn't far from there and all those good.
Yeah, all
baby.
that shit.
Yeah.
So this man was found.
And just real quick, the fact that he remembered that is pretty startling to me.
It's to me, it was such an integral part of, like, I tried to get a job there, quit and worked at the ice cream spot. Like, we were around there forever. That's where I first smoked weed. Like a fat ass blunt was like right across the street from the trolley car.
And also the fact you pull out Quentin's name out of the ether is really cool too. Okay, so there you go. Okay.
So last thing that happened to Crackhead Bull was there was somebody locked in the bathroom at the trolley car diner. So the staff is banging on the door. You know, we're trying to fucking close. Like, niggas trying to go home. Woo, woo, woo. They have to break this motherfucker down. Boom. They kick this shit down, break the thing open. Man is blue, discolored, and dead on the toilet. And that's how it all ends. OG man is disappeared.
You said
this nigga's dead.
I was gonna say you said dead.
Dead. He OD'd on the toilet at Trolley Car Diner.
Just real quick, I think if that happens to you, St. Peter, just like general principle, goes, I go to hell. You get asked how you died.
Is on the toilet.
I'm not sure if Elvis made it to heaven, only because it's how'd you die. Well, I OD'd on the toilet, and just Pete just started shaking his head with, just go to hell. And this is, wow.
It is, no pun intended, a shitty way to go.
There's you made out of intended. You know, as soon as someone says, I don't intend to, I hope this isn't insulting. I hope this doesn't, right? You know it's going to be insulting, and the intended, that's
it's bad. It's bad. But it is a shitty way to go.
That is a shitty way to go. It's pretty jacked up. Because if you stick with that whole concept that you go with, it's pretty fucked up. That means you died in a bordello. So the fact that you died
shitty way to
in
go.
A bathroom
in the trolley car diner. That is the shit that kicked. That was the shit kicker for me.
It belongs in a tombstone. Somehow, in small print, somehow there's a poem there. But I digress. So, so there, that's where they find the man.
And that's what that whole song is about, is those three people. And side note, there's a little sidebar of in that house where my homeboy who came in and forgot his kid's name, that whole house where all those kids were staying at, there was one kid that would end up being like a little homie for us
Right.
for a while that was
Right.
trying to do music. And he ended up getting, I feel like he was more on Percocet than anything else. I don't know if he actually touched the dog food or anything, but he's like, and he's still trying. He keep going in and out, but his whole thing kind of spiraled out because he was sticking around there. He didn't have nowhere to go, and it's just one of those times where like you was in all the right places at the right time and try to do certain things for certain people. Because like even when we dropped out, we just tried to keep him around. And he ended up getting locked up for robbing a fucking liquor store in like Flower Town.
Okay, so another area of concern. You just now said it, and that was around not having any place to go. And that was another point of concern, is that you express that concern about people for a long time in your life. Is that you kind of look to take care of people. You look after your friends. You look after people. Um, and although I think it's a wonderful trait, it's also a fault because you can go too far with it. You personally and people in general can go too far with it. Um, and frequently, when people who are like that have acquaintances, friends, and people familiar with them that they're looking after, then sometimes what they become is, or they become comfortable with, is self-sacrifice, where you'll put them above yourself. And that was another part of my concern with you. So when I said about being worried, you just reminded me of another place where I was worried, was that you'd put them ahead of yourself and to your own detriment.
That's
and you would
something
find, and real quick, and you'd find it okay.
That's something more that really hit me with my last relationship, is that where that to me really came to a head, and I noticed it as like a real problem. Because I really, even when you just say that, I know we got Pill over here working the camera today, but I was sitting here wondering, I was like, I don't know how much I'm like that for real, because I'm like kind of a selfish nigga. I wonder what Pill think for real.
Oh,
But
but that's different. Okay, well, when you say selfish, I want you to try to hold this thought. You want more tequila? You do okay.
I'm doing cool.
Okay, so hold that thought, and then I'm going to ask this question, which is, you say what you're saying, which is, I'm not sure if I'm like that. I'm not sure if I'm like that. I'm not sure if other people would say the same thing. Yet here's your dad. What do I call you?
Old man.
Have I ever called you anything different?
No, yeah, man.
It's a struggle calling you Taylor. Right, so you don't hear that, and you know the whole story. I won't bore people with the boring, but unless you want me to, I won't bore them with the story of why I call you that. Have you ever heard me think that's the only name you've heard me call you?
Yeah.
Okay, so with that in mind, there is what you just now said, and how others who also know you know of you. Then there's what I said about you in terms of you kind of looking after people, and now here goes my question. My question is, how much of you questioning yourself because of how others may perceive you has to do with where you categorize people. So a girlfriend is a lot of things: support mechanisms, sexual object, someone who is there, who fulfills something that all your male friends can't and female friends can't. It's a unique and special relationship. So there's the part of all that others see, but then in private, there's another part that your friends never see. What I'm saying is, so I'm going to make a statement, which I guess I'm going to try to formulate a question. My statement is, that part they don't see is what I'm talking about. My question is, am I right? That the parts that these folks who may look at you and go, "What the hell is he talking about? Looking out for what the hell?" How much of that is what your friends and stuff don't see?
Yeah, no, it is a large part,
That's what I
without a
figured.
doubt.
Yeah.
That's like I said, it's something that I really had to. It's been a big learning process for me on how to keep um, myself going, myself protected.
Mm-hmm.
Because I realized a big detriment for me in this last relationship I went through was just I was putting somebody else's issues completely above mine because my thing was always, no, I can deal with my shit.
There you go. There you go. You're always people are always strong enough, and that is exactly the behavior. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, chalk that up to yet another. I worry about my kid. So these. So now you're kind of getting a stack up of my worries, my where I get concerned, and that sort of stuff. Add that to the. You're getting it.
No, you're definitely right. So only because of time, and I feel like we'll be okay because they didn't let us in here until mad late, but just to make sure that we're hitting everything. Um, what is, speaking of that conversation we had 5 years ago that kind of set this whole thing off, what is eating the elephant?
Eating the elephant is an old. It's actually an old story, so it's not anything unique to me. I'm repeating something that goes way back, and a lot of folks have already heard it. So, what it is you have something that you have to. There's a person who is has to eat an entire elephant, the largest land mammal on the planet, and has to eat it. So, this person agrees to it, and this story can be told a plethora of different ways. So, I'm going to tell it this way. And so there's these ways of going ahead and eating it. And this person says, yes, I can do it. Well, it takes him years to eat it, but he does eat it. And so you eat a little bit at a time, little bit at a time. Um, and so what I heard from you that night was you were like putting together, and it wasn't that night. It was a whole weekend. Like you're always there for a weekend, but you were there for whatever period of time. And what I heard was being overwhelmed. That's really what I perceived that time. So, and you were overwhelmed because there was so much going on in what you thought was so much going on. And I'm listening to it and listening to it, and you were sharing it, and I read some of your Instagrams and so forth. And by the way, I do not look at your Instagrams anymore. I look at
No.
none of it. I can't do it. I was sitting there like cry or do like weird shit.
Jesus Christ, how bad is my shit?
I'm just like a pussy when it comes when it comes to like half the time here when we were just started talking, I was like watering up. That's why I was wiping my eyes, really watering up. But back over to this. So I heard somebody that just had all this shit going on, and what I knew was you just got to break this stuff down. You just like you're getting overwhelmed
Mm.
is what I heard, but you didn't see it. And that's why I told you the story of eating the elephant, which is the way you eat an elephant is you get a knife and fork and eat a little bit at a time every single day. Whenever you feel hungry, so several times a day, and you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And one day the elephant's gone. You ate it. And that's how I saw all your problems. It's just an elephant. Um, and you had, and it was just trying to, and it obviously sunk in, not sunk in, but you obviously heard the story. I was surprised because I didn't know until this album, this Fate thing. I didn't know you heard it, uh, but you did. So I'm really happy that out of all the bullshit that comes out of my mouth, that there was something that was like useful. It's kind of cool. Uh, and what I also didn't want you to do was to be so overwhelmed that you lost your spirit. You lost that entrepreneurial spirit. That you didn't want to. That you'd be discouraged.
Mm.
And that was the other thing I heard with that weekend was not that like I felt that you were necessarily at a crossroads, but definitely you're at one of those points where it was tough. At
Yeah.
the very least, it was tough. So, and during those times, it's I don't know what anybody needs. What I do know is that because it's all in your own head, and there's only but so much anybody can do. So, That's why I told you that story of eating the elephant. That you sit down, you look at that thing, and then it's, I'm going to take off bites that I can consume, and I will consume that bite. Even if it's only one bite, I'll take that bite today. If I can make a whole meal out of it, then I'll make a meal today. There'll be more than one bite. But whatever it is, I'm going to go after it every single day. And eventually, elephant's gone. Um, because what I did not want you to do was to stop doing what you're doing. That, I think, would have been a mistake. I don't know if any of this is going to work. I really don't. What I do know was, at that time, you were really just getting started. As tough as it was, and as tough as you're having it, you're really just getting started. And when in just getting started, you're also, there's the age, the resources you have, all those things are limiting factors, which means that it's all tougher than it would be if you're, I don't know, Kanye West's kid, right? So for them, it's they're 12 and they're having these issues, but you've got a real life and normal parents, so it's tougher. But you were really really young, and you really had just gotten started. So I didn't want to see you discouraged. And what I also would hear you talk about, and I hear some of it in that Fate album, is you brought up, dropping out of school, and you brought up what the other kids, listen to me, what the other men and women are doing in your age group who may have finished school or gone to school from longer, whatever. And what I also worry about is that you compare yourself to them. And I don't want you to do that, because that's not a fair comparison. Um, they're going down a very traditional route, and that traditional route's fine for them. It's fine for 90+% of the population. But there's this other percent in there. One of the things about them is they've been scared off of a non-traditional route. They're terrified of it, or they want it. They want to talk about it. They won't do it. Everybody who's doing it, they think differently. They operate differently because you have to, and I find that engaging. I find that interesting. I think you got to be smarter, tougher, more imaginative than going down a traditional route. So at that time, there you are, told you that story, and all of it was to be that guy who, looking back on it now, and I'm thinking about how I wouldn't want a kid who was an artist, and here I am encouraging my kid, to be one. So whatever it is that you're going to be that. And I don't know what you'll wind up doing. But I do know that where your mind is taking you and where your skills and art is taking you, it's really neat. To let that go without really, really giving it a shot, I think it's a mistake.
And that's a big part of one of so there's 14 tracks on the album. To me, the last two are bonus tracks. But my manager Riley really didn't want me to. He thought I was discrediting them to call them bonus tracks. So we didn't do that. But to me, it ends with failure and into Stone Cold, just what Stone Cold represents. But that was a big part of what you say on that record. To me, that the only true failure is sitting there and quitting and having all that time of going, what if and what could have happened. And that was every piece of what took me so long, was because there's so much information in that conversation that we had, and it was what I ended up pulling out personally. To me, is everything I needed to hear.
Really? Like need? That's a big word, man.
No, that's why.
That makes me feel like $1,000,000, right?
Good.
Okay, because it really does. Okay.
No, you said shit that I needed to hear, and that's why it took me so long, and that's why it's set up how it is. Because I'm not a never been, thank you, artistically like a super accessible cat. Those aren't the type of cats that I was that hooked me growing up. I was into the Nas's, Andre 3000s, the Marilyn Mansons, E40s. Like I'm with all the left field stuff. I'm with all the weirdo shit. But at the end of the day, at the core of it, what I'm into is something that hits my gut, that sticks to my rib. And I could sit there all day and go, or no, not that I can't. I can't sit there all day and go, ooh, people are fucking with this sound right now. I'll make something over here that's hot like this. Woo, woo, woo.
Gotcha.
I can't go out and try and match what your ears are already accustomed to hearing, the pop sensibility that you want. I'm not that type of cat. Never have been. So what I focus on instead is, what do I want to hear? What is the shit that I not only want to hear, what do I need to hear? And for me, that is what everything you said on that album is I have that there because before anybody else listened to this, John, it's me sitting here for years listening to it over and over again.
Hang on for a second. I gotta do a bathroom break. Remember that conversation we had?
Yeah.
I'm there.
All right. Slight intermission. We're going to play jazz music right here.